I chastised my sister-in-law for trying to make Christmas all about her and flaunt her accomplishments, reminding her that she is dependent on my brother for her own survival. She is so irrational about it that she left the party to file for divorce, only to return an hour later, all because I, an 18-year-old, falsely claimed to be close friends with her 24-year-old sister-in-law, Katie. We have a long history dating back to her high school years with my 24-year-old brother, Joshua. For me, Katie was an inspiration and someone I looked up to, much like a big sister. She would frequently come to our house, and we would hang out together while my brother wasn't around. Myself, my parents, Josh, and I make up a small family of 4, so having someone like Katie in my life was like having that cool older sister figure I was never given. In my life, she resembled an angel. She and my mom used to argue sometimes, and I used to side with her during those years. But after all this time, I saw that Katie was just being stubborn and my mother was correct. I was ecstatic when Josh and Katie were married after high school. They seemed to have finally solidified, and I was sincerely pleased for them. Everything became formal and I felt they were in it for the long run. Allow me to briefly outline the major stakeholders in this intricate situation. Let me start with my brother, Joshua. There is around 6 years of age difference between the two of us. It may not seem like much, but believe me when I say that a year can really make a difference. You know, Joshua has always been really caring towards me and has treated me like his little princess, even though we are not the same age. Even though our ages have never been particularly close, I've always respected his commitment and drive, particularly when it comes to his business endeavors. Since his high school years, Joshua has worked hard to establish his own company. Like a large, amiable golden retriever, he has always exuded an infectious enthusiasm that just pulls people in. Making it huge and giving our parents everything they could ever want has been his ambition. Men's clothing is his specialty at Threads of Comfort. That's not your normal baggy jersey and tights that reach your ankles. Rather, his goal lies in producing reasonably priced, fashionable, breathable, and comfortable sportswear for the average man. Joshua has created popular designs from the beginning. His brand took off right away because of his creative take on men's sportswear. Because of his focus on comfort, affordability, and style, he has been able to carve out a position for himself in the market. Seeing him develop and thrive in his interest from his high school years to the present has been incredible. Joshua's dedication to providing excellent quality at reasonable costs resonated with his target market. His company swiftly rose to prominence as the go-to option for fitness enthusiasts, athletes, and regular people searching for cozy yet fashionable sportswear. Local magazines took an interest in his designs as well, which brought him some well-earned fame. His brand became extremely popular as a result of his increasing social media presence. To put it succinctly, he was doing quite well with his business. Let's go on to Katie. Think of the usual cheerleader. She may not be the most well-liked, but she is content since she has her close-knit group of 6 friends. Josh and Katie met through a mutual friend, and you can probably imagine how the rest of the tale went. This is the story of what happened when Josh and Katie got married immediately out of high school. Josh wanted to concentrate on his business, and Katie stated she wanted to support him, so they both decided to enroll in distance learning. That was her response, at least at first. I was ecstatic when they moved in with our family. Mom, though, wasn't exactly enthralled with the concept. Over time, certain things began to become evident. Katie wasn't famous or anything, but she spent most of her time creating videos and posting them on TikTok. In the meantime, she spent Josh's money on luxuries that she treated herself to like it was July 4th. I loved her then, so I didn't think much of it at first. Mom wasn't very happy with this behavior, though. She even made several attempts to speak with them about it, but nothing significant changed. After about half a year, Katie demanded that they move out and get a place of their own. At the moment, I didn't give it any thought. I reasoned that since they were married, they should have their own area. Maybe they ought to have taken action sooner in retrospect. Things began to change when they moved out. They seldom came to see us, and Katie severed all ties with the family, myself included. They only visited once a year for roughly a week, and even then Katie pretended to be too good for us. I even invited Mom and Dad to join along when I chose to visit Josh and Katie for Christmas last year, but they weren't interested. I went alone because I was badly missing my brother. It turned out to be the most embarrassing thing I've ever done, and it was definitely the worst Christmas as well, let me tell you. Katie had all of her friends over when I arrived. She put me in charge of serving them. Josh attempted to dismiss it as me being of assistance to her, but in reality, I felt more like a tool. I tried to join them later, but Katie advised me to go back to my room because it was an adult zone. Josh became agitated over it and pulled Katie aside to chat, but upon their return, Katie was grinning and Josh appeared dejected. When he asked if I wanted to attend a Christmas party with him and his co-workers, I simply went back to my room since I was so irritated. I had planned to stay for an additional week, but the entire incident forced me to depart the following day. Josh felt reluctant, but Katie seemed delighted with it. It seemed as though he knew that returning home would be best for me even though he still wanted me to stay. That is what transpired. I only completed my high school education a few months ago, and I'm now immersed in the exciting world of college applications. Just 1 week has passed since Christmas, and let me tell you, it was a complete disaster. I did, however, manage to find enjoyment in it. Josh insisted on having Katie and him come over for Christmas this year, so that's who did. I was as excited to meet him as my parents were, especially after all this time. As for Katie, well, let's just say that her presence didn't exactly make me happy. However, since she was now in my territory, I couldn't allow her to spoil everyone's Christmas. In our family, we usually celebrate Christmas in a quite low-key manner. But Mom and Dad decided to throw a small party because Josh was coming home after a very long time and we had another cousin from Brazil visiting. It was only the 4 of us, my aunt and her husband, my 2 uncles and their wives, and my Brazilian cousin and her children. Even if there wasn't a large crowd, it was still a unique occasion for us to be together in one place for so long. Regretfully, Kitty chose to ruin everything, but we won't get into it. We all sat down to watch a movie and catch up with each other after supper. However, since we were more interested in learning about David, our Brazilian cousin, the movie was more like background noise. Before coming here, it seems that he went on a blind date with a woman who turned out to be a pickpocket. We all laughed heartily at this mishap. While Mom, Dad, and the rest of the family were sitting with Kitty and Josh, Katie eventually made her way over to join in on our talk. Just the 4 of us were chattering away, and she was largely ignoring everyone else save David. From across the room, I could see Josh seeing that she was giggling and conversing with him like they were old friends, but he stayed put. When she once asked David if he had a special someone in his life, he revealed that his dog had died just a month prior. That woman's nerve. Can you believe it? She simply chuckled and remarked, "Oh, good, it's just a dog." How deeply David loved his dog, Angel, is beyond words. For 13 years, she lived a happy and contented life as a bull terrier. That doesn't negate the reality of his sadness, though. Still, she laughed. It was very understandable that David ignored her completely after that. She made the decision to create a scene after seeing she was not making progress with David. Moving to the center of the room, she gave a monkey-like clap to get everyone's attention before announcing that she had signed her first endorsement contract with a tiny company to review and promote their goods. When she began to go through the specifics, Josh briefly appeared to be quite proud of her. I was even pleased for her. She appeared to have put in a lot of effort to earn this chance, and it was now paying off. Of course, though, not everything could remain happy while she was around. After discussing her endorsement arrangement, she adopted a victim mentality, lamenting how difficult it has been for Josh to operate his company and how overburdened she is with obligations. She continued by saying that she felt incredibly underappreciated because she thought Mom would come over and assist her in pursuing her interests and taking care of the house while she was staring at my uncles and aunts. Mom, though, never did. She tried to defuse the situation by saying that she wasn't blaming Mom and that she just wanted to share since she thought it was important to be honest with the family. And then the last blow. She said that she will surpass Josh's income in a few months, at which point he might maybe become a trophy husband and stay at home with his family. And that was all. Mom looked like she was about to cry, and Josh flushed. For me, that was the final straw. I was at my breaking point. I told her off and gave her a piece of my mind. I informed her that my brother had been supporting her way of life for a very long time. Josh provided her with everything, her lifestyle, her expectations, and the things she purchased. Consequently, my brother was not a trophy husband, and she was being ungrateful and self-centered. There would be no her without Josh. I advised her to spend her non-existent income to hire a maid if she really needed assistance around the house. I told her she could get her hands dirty and that getting manicures paid for by Josh wasn't a priority. Regarding her making out with David, I also didn't hold back. I informed her that David would not give her the time of day, despite the fact that she was blatantly making out with her husband's brother in front of him. Even if she were the last woman on earth, he wouldn't waste a second of his time on her because he could tell when someone was acting impolite and bothersome from a mile away. Katie gave me a slap after I told her what was on my mind. It was unexpected, but Josh did the right thing when he spoke up and ordered her to keep to her boundaries. But to my amazement, Kitty shoved Josh out of the way and yelled at him, calling him a worthless nobody and telling him to burn in hell. She declared that she was going to file for divorce and that she was over him. She left the house like she was on a mission after that. I didn't know how she intended to go wherever she was going, because they had arrived in Josh's car. But an hour or so later, she returned, sobbing uncontrollably. She was barefoot, her feet were bleeding, her knee was bleeding, and her makeup was all smudged. I was surprised and perplexed by what I saw. I didn't like Katie, but I had that girl-to-girl feeling when I realized something wasn't quite right. I brought her inside as soon as I opened the door and saw her in that state. Josh appeared shocked and frozen when I asked him to get her some water. Mom briefly dashed to the kitchen to fetch Katie some water. We asked her what had happened when she had calmed down a little. Katie informed us that she had been attempting to hail a cab, but she chose to walk down the street due to the poor weather and the dearth of cabs near the house. Unable to obtain a cab, she lingered there for another 15 minutes before making her way to the local McDonald's. An automobile drew up in front of her as she was leaving after having some food and coffee while sitting there. But it was an old Nissan, not a cab. When she refused the men offered a ride, one of them stepped out of the car, which made her panic and take off running. Her heels caused her ankle to twist a little, so she removed them and fled. The street where this occurred is normally crowded, but it becomes less busy, especially at night, as soon as you turn the corner and merge into the fifth lane leading to the nearby street. This is the fastest route home, but it also features a few summer vacation cabins that are generally empty at this time of year. She chose to go that way, but she was unable to outrun the car because it was only around the corner. She ended up hurting herself as she jumped into some adjacent bushes. After searching for her for some time, the guys gave up and left. Kitty ran back to her house as fast as she could. Josh did not move even after hearing all of this. He seemed angry, but maybe pleased that nothing too serious had happened. Josh then instructed me to spend the night with Katie and promised to drop her off at her mother's house the next morning. Rather than express gratitude to us, she became agitated and told me she didn't need a babysitter, especially not me. She appeared astonished and possibly even wounded. I didn't really react because I knew she had experienced something horrible. Katie, though, is not going to change. 2 days ago, the next morning, Josh and her departed without exchanging words with anyone. She did, however, come see me and tell me that I was the cause of their breakup and that I would burn in hell. She truly resembles the devil in a human form. I tried phoning Josh, though, and he has been putting my calls on hold as well as his parents. I suppose he needs a little room at the moment. In a few days, I'll give it another shot, but I can't help but wonder whether addressing my sister-in-law about everything that has been going on put me in danger. Or did I treat her like a spoiled rat and manage it too immaturely? Hello, I'm back with an update after all that happened 15 days ago. Regretfully, matters have become even more intricate than they were previously. There was certainly a reason Josh wasn't answering my calls. So Josh and Katie returned to their home the day after Christmas. Josh wouldn't tell me about their fight at first, and after that Katie packed up some of her belongings, just the necessities, and they drove away. Josh left her at her parents' house and came back for lunch. These days, Josh gets along well with Katie's dad, Gary. Gary pulled Josh away after lunch and they sat on the veranda to smoke cigarettes together. Gary was curious as to why Katie was there and what was going on. Though he wanted to know just how awful things were, he assumed that things were not going well. Josh told Gary everything at that point. Gary, who could already tell that things were not going to get better, mentioned that Katie often brought along a neighbor named Henry when she visited. Every day, at all hours, even at night, this guy would show up. And Gary stopped there. With justifiable rage, Josh went straight up to Katie and questioned her if she was having an affair. Katie stared at him with a sorry expression on her face and said nothing for a few minutes. She eventually turned to face him and said he was incapable of loving her to the extent that she deserved. Josh was fighting to hold back tears when he told me all of this over the phone. This was the betrayal he got in return for everything he had done for Katie. Mentally, he wasn't doing well. Josh requested that I wait to tell our parents and that he will notify them when he is ready. I'm heading over to Josh's apartment tomorrow because I think he needs someone to be there for him right now. We'll see how that turns out. Hello everyone, it's been 2 months since my previous post, so let me tell you all what's been up to. Josh and I are still here, and he's doing much better now. Regarding his romantic life, not much is going on there. At first, I was supposed to return with our parents after they spent a week with us. I like the notion of staying with Josh for a little while longer, though, as they suggested. About a month into the issue, Josh had already filled them in on everything, so they knew exactly what was going on. He's currently filed for divorce. Interestingly, because she signed the documents, even Katie is excited to carry it out. Furthermore, she moved in with the guy she cheated on him before a month had passed since anything happened. What a lady, really. Josh didn't find out about the adultery until much later, so I was a little surprised that everything ended over that Christmas fight. However, the divorce process had already begun by then. Josh informed me that by the time I spoke with him about it, things hadn't been going well. Josh made every attempt to encourage her, but she never offered him any time, attention, or even the tiniest hint of effort. She was spending too much money, and every time he tried to approach her about it out of genuine concern, she would pick fights. He eventually came to the conclusion that keeping quiet would be preferable to dealing with the stress on a daily basis. Her disdain for his family was what ultimately drove him to snap. He said that he no longer respected Katie as a partner and significant other and that she had lost interest in him as a person. Hearing that was heartbreaking because, in spite of everything, I had hoped that they would resolve their differences. Thank goodness they didn't. Joshua seemed to have left the family for a while, but he is now back in the mix. Fantastic news! Katie and Josh are officially divorced, and tomorrow we're having a party to celebrate. I recently completed my college education, and I'm currently preparing my NYU applications. It's a comfort that Katie, who supports her boyfriend and lives with him, did not receive any alimony. Josh took a vacation to Brazil, where he met someone and they are currently chatting online without making any plans. Warm wishes for the future. I haven't brought it up, but our parents are a little in a "we told you so" mode with Josh, which is understandable considering the difficulties we encountered when he allowed Katie to treat us badly. He's experienced a lot. While it may not be the best time to talk about relationship problems right now, it's important to deal with any tensions in the future. Josh graciously extended an invitation for me to co-manage the company with him, which might result in priceless exposure and experience. Nonetheless, literature is my main interest, and I'm determined to major in it. Nevertheless, Josh has kindly offered to teach me the ropes and let me work alongside him in the company as a backup plan in case things don't go as planned. Despite the possibility of success, I'm determined to pursue my love of books. Despite the difficulties we encountered, things are starting to come together again, and I appreciate your understanding and support. I really appreciate it. That concluded the story for today.